And it's clear why we don't raise children in the United States that way. Compulsory education is antithetical to the idea of individual freedom. But it's hypocritical to ask, what are Black people not doing that Asian Americans are doing, without asking, what is the United States education system not providing that certain Asian countries are? And we also have the highest wealth gap, with the highest income Asian Americans earning approximately 11 times as much as the lowest income Asian Americans. Also, Asian Americans are not the highest earners in the United States. Those individuals are white people.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome back to my YouTube space. The video I'm going to react today, I'm going to feature this lady called LaDy Chen. She's an Asian lady, Asian American lady. She always speak facts, how it is about anti-racism and everything that's around Asian and Black American, you know. She's a nice lady. And the video I'm going to react about is about why are Asian people thriving more than Black people? Because I've seen a lot of people saying that Asian community thrives. Asian community has higher education. Asian community, you know, like they are the best. They are getting higher wages. The wealth gap between Asian and Black and white people is not that much. And questions has been there. Why are Asian community have quality education even with the US education system? Why are Asian community thriving in the midst of the white system? So they are being referring to black people, saying that Black people are this white system or the American system, American education system have ruined their education. So they cannot afford to have good jobs because they don't have quality education because of the education system. They are saying the wealth gap between Black people and white people is that much simply because we as Black people have failed to bring down that gap. And even there is a Black professor who talked about why all this is happening. And he said that Black people are going through problems or are going through poverty because they don't own anything. And Asian owns businesses, etc., etc. And again, the story is that Asian community has good manners, good behaviors, discipline more than Black community. So that's what LaDy Chen, she's gonna talk about. And after we watch this video, I will come back again and react on it. Okay, let's dig deep into that.
Of course, I can only speak from my personal experience, but Of course, I can only speak from my personal experience, but as a first-generation born Asian American whose family fit the model that was in play when I was growing up pretty well, I don't think that my experience is that unique. It's not that I thrived in the United States education system, it's that my parents did not trust the system, so they took my education into their own hands. I wasn't homeschooled, my parents didn't have the financial resources to send my brother and I to private school or to hire tutors or pay for prep courses, but they would go to some pretty comical lengths to acquire the textbooks that our schools were using ahead of time so that they would teach us the material that we were going to learn in school before it was presented by the school because they didn't trust the school to be able to teach. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking that that is the kind of devotion to education that you're talking about, that even though my parents lacked the financial resources, they took those steps above and beyond to make sure that my brother and I had academic success. However, it's important to recognize that parents are only able to do that and to know to do that if they have an educational framework that came from outside of the United States. For example, my mom came to the United States in the 1950s when Asians were still facing a lot of systemic and institutional racism. She went to public high school in New York City and did not get good grades. This was reflected in the limited career opportunities that were available to her, and if we relied on my mom alone, we probably would have remained working class. She would have known that she wanted us to be better students than she was because she would have wanted our career opportunities to be better than hers were, but she would have had to rely on the education system to teach us. And she would have encouraged us to study hard and focus on school. And it's not that that can't yield success, because it can, But despite growing up very poor, my dad was educated in Taiwan. He graduated top in his class from National Taiwan University. He came to the United States on a visa in the 1960s to do PhD work at Yale. And when it was just my parents with my brother relying on my mom's income and my dad's stipend, they were financially struggling. Things were very difficult. But when my dad started working, they went from struggling to stable and eventually to doing quite well. And it was with my dad's knowledge and my mom's encouragement that they were able to teach my brother and I the science and math in particular that we needed to get ahead in school. So my family is one example of how you can get that narrative of Asian families coming to the United States with very little resources and turning it around in one generation. But it's important to recognize that there were other resources and knowledge that they drew on from their countries of origin. And also, while my family's experience gets stereotyped as the norm in the United States, my dad graduating top of his class in National Taiwan University makes him one in a very few chance. And also, it is not just high selectivity Asian immigrants who are able to do this in the United States. Studies have shown that it is high selectivity immigrants from all around the world who bring that knowledge and resources from their countries of origin and pass it on to their children in the United States so they can thrive.
Now, that's about education. Why Asian America thrive in education, and we have, education system that is spoiled in America. And she has talked about her personal experience. Her parents did not trust the education system of America, and they went ahead and took this on their own hands to teach her. And that's because a lot of Asian parents, they value that education, and they are able to pass, to come with their cultural to America and pass it to their children. Now, another question that was asked by black people to this army chain was this. I've been living in Asia for 3 years now, and they are extremely disciplined and have strong family ties that can't be ignored. Let's listen to that.
Of course, it depends on where in Asia and whom, because Asia is a continent and Asians are not a monolith. But all this comment is pointing out is, of course, there are differences between cultures in Asia and culture in the United States. The problem with the model minority myth is that it tells black people specifically that they could be doing better if they would just adopt the cultural values of Asian Americans, as though black people are a monolith, as though Asian Americans are a monolith, and ignoring the fact that Asian Americans' values are influenced by their countries of origin. And depending on what country that is, that's an entire system that involves the government and the education system. Many Asian Americans who fit the model, and it's important to remember that's not all Asian Americans, they represent the very best that the education systems in their countries of origin have to offer. And in some of those countries, the government and the education system are very involved in how children are raised. So the extreme discipline is not just coming from parents and coming from the home. The rigor and the discipline is being established from a very young age in the public schools. So students in those countries may attend school for very long hours, and when they go home, their parents are reinforcing the values and the lifestyle that is being established by the school. And it's clear why we don't raise children in the United States that way. Compulsory education is antithetical to the idea of individual freedom. But it's hypocritical to ask, what are black people not doing that Asian Americans are doing, without asking, what is the United States education system not providing that certain Asian countries are?
Now, the discipline of Asian people is cultural. It's deep in the culture, because the Asian culture is being passed to the children. They are being taught how to, to behave and everything. I think that's probably what she is trying to say. And African Americans, for example, they moved to America as slaves long time ago. So some of them, they were denied access to their own culture, okay? They were denied access to their own origin. So they live to have the behaviors of the white people, okay? Now, we'll dive deep. Question number 3 was like this. This is how she answered it.
This may be the most important thing that I ever say. Asian Americans did not crack the code. It is that Asian Americans are white supremacy's favorite cipher where it comes to writing the fiction that white supremacy doesn't exist. Asian Americans do have the highest median household income by race in the United States, and we also have the highest wealth gap, with the highest income Asian Americans earning approximately 11 times as much as the lowest income Asian Americans. Also, Asian Americans are not the highest earners in the United States. Those individuals are white people. The logic being exercised here would be as if I took Jeff Bezos' household income and the household income of an unhoused person and used it to prove that the unhoused person has no problems because their median household income is billionaire. But the short answer to this is the Asian ethnicities that earn the most in the United States correspond to the Asian ethnicities that receive the vast majority of H-1B visas. In case your next question was, if the United States engages in so much white supremacy, why does it provide so much opportunity to immigrants in the form of H-1B visas? And it's because employers can pay employees who receive H-1B visas less than they would have to pay their non-immigrant counterparts. So it allows employers to gain access to highly skilled employees. And for the most part, immigrants who receive H-1B visas are able to earn more in the United States than they may be able to earn in their countries of origin, even if they're being paid less than their non-immigrant counterparts. Another reason why the United States does this is exactly to get people like you to ask this question. If Asian Americans seem to be doing well in the United States, that would indicate that white supremacy doesn't exist. The negative implication is if Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other people of color are not able to do as well as Asian Americans, the problem must not be white supremacy, the problem must be cultural to those demographics. However, if you look at Asian Americans who came to the United States not through high selectivity policies like H-1B visas and student visas, it becomes apparent that they do struggle with lack of equitable access to resources, and for them that has harmful outcomes very similar to the outcomes experienced by Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other people of color.
That was amazing from Ami Chen. Asian lady talking about why we have all these questions, and not all of us, but a lot of people, some of the Black people have these questions. Why are you thriving economically more than Black people? Why are you more disciplined? Why are you like this? And others are saying that if truly as Asian in America, you are getting paid well and you are having good life there, that means that white supremacy does not exist, but Black people are the problem. But she went ahead and answered that. Now, when I come to this, when I come to something that we call culture, Black people are robbed their culture, their identity and everything. So when you talk about disciplinary behavior, this is the discipline of where they are, you know? And that's why a lot of people are not in line with the Black culture. We call not Black culture. They are not in line with the, or they are saying that Black culture is spoiled. Okay? And this Black culture, a lot of them are saying that it's being influenced with the ghetto life, the gangster life, the musician with the gangster life, and etc., that are influencing this Black culture that we have right now. Because a lot of people, or a lot of Black youths, they are looking upon or looking onto these musicians. They are role models, so they are getting a lot from them. When you hear that one of the maybe Takeoff has taken off with someone, all these musicians doing some nasty things, and you want to copy that. That's how all Black culture is being spoiled, of copying all these influencers. But it's being said, Asian people are being taught by their parents, personally by their parents. It's the work of the parents to teach them if the education system is bad, because they know American education system is bad. So they take this on their own hands to teach their own students. Again, about the discipline and everything, she's saying that they are being taught from the school. And this is back to the countries of origin. If it's from China, from South Korea, from Asian, those Asian countries, the culture is being retained. So these young Asian children are being groomed inside their own culture. Or these parents, they come with that culture and pass it to their children here in America. So the discipline and everything we see, it's about the culture. But Black people, we were robbed our culture. That's you know, and we were disconnected from African. Like black Americans were disconnected from Africa, like for real, for real. There is some black Americans are saying that Africa is not our place. Africa is not our home. But Asian America, Indian America, Latinos, you will not find an Asian America saying that Asia is not my home, or a Chinese American saying that China is not my home. All of them, even if they haven't visited there, they embrace their country of origin. Now, I understand there is some reasons why some black Americans may say this is not our home, okay? Because black people were disconnected from their country of origin, were disconnected from their ancestors, but Asian Americans weren't disconnected, you know? Like, the slavery of black people was too deep. Now, about why Asian community is thriving more than black community in America, this is the issue of complex society, economic factors, and it impacts various communities differently, okay? Now, one of the reasons is because of the immigration patterns. When you talk about immigration patterns in the USA, this came through highly sensitive immigration process that favored highly educated and skilled individuals, such as the 1965 Immigration Act, which prioritized workers with skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As a result, many Asian immigrants arrived with a higher level of education or professional qualification, which contributed to upward mobility. That's very easy to understand. Immigration patterns. Asian community went to America when they're already educated, because America was looking for highly educated people to work in science and technology. But black Americans went to America as slaves. Some of them were even taken to America even before they go to school. Some of them were taken there before they realized how everything it is. They were just taking the strong men to go and work there. So the immigration pattern was different. And that's why in the United States of America, you may find Asian community may be thriving more than black community. Personally, I don't know if it's like that. So I want your comment section there. Tell me, is it true that Asian community is thriving more than black community? So I believe the migration patterns have answered my question a lot. Like Asians were taken to America as ready-made. They were already made, like people who have skills already. But black Americans were taken there before they ripe, before they are, So that is the difference maybe between these two communities that I think, it's not that is the difference, but just trying to put out reality according to the questions that they have been asked by some black people. Now, many Asian cultures place a strong emphasis on education and academic achievement. Let's talk on that. Asian culture places a strong or emphasize so much on education and academic achievement. And this value can lead to higher education attainment in the community, which in turn open doors to better paying jobs and career advancement. The emphasis on education and a strong work ethic is often passed down across generation. Now, what I can say about that is that in the midst of the white supremacist, in the midst of the rotten education system, still Asian community value education, and they take that on their own hands to teach their own children. Like it's passed down to generation after generation. And this, if there is bad education system here, they go back to their origin. They go back to their country. They teach their children back from the motherland, their motherland, like Asian motherland. Understand that? And It's very hard for black people to take their children to Africa so that they can get that education from Africa. Number one, because a lot of black Americans still hold the stereotypes that Africa is poor, Africa is uncivilized, Africa is a dark continent. Still, a lot of African Americans still hold the perception, stereotypes that Africa has a lot of diseases, Africa is like this and like that, and that you cannot get anything good from Africa. They still hold that. Not all of black Americans, but some of them. But Asian, they believe their homeland is the best. They believe that if we lack good education system here, we cannot fail to get it at our own places. Okay? And that's why you get some Asian community thriving, having good jobs. It's because better education will amount to better job opportunities. Better education will amount to maybe good life according to the American dream and advancement. So that is why we always emphasize on culture, on education. Africa, right now, we have leaders like Ibrahim Traore that is focusing on education, because having a literate society is good. But having illiterate society, you go suffer. Let me tell you, my brother. Because you will only put people on power who have education. And that's not you. It's not your son. It's not your neighbor. Will not be your pastor or your who. Will be someone else who knows to play the tricks of with the uneducated society. You hear what I'm saying? Number 3, per me, why Asian community maybe is thriving more than black community. I don't want to believe it's like that, but just we are estimating. Asian immigrants often build strong support networks within their communities, supporting Asian business, like they support each other. And these networks can help provide a financial and emotional support, as well as access to job opportunities and resources for small businesses. These networks are sometimes leveraged to create entrepreneurial opportunities, helping individuals start business that are most likely to succeed. That means that Asian people help each other, Chinese help each other. When you see here, they help each other. When Chinese are here in Kenya working and there's some opportunities to work, they always call their people back there, come and work in Kenya. We have good jobs, good payments. But when Africa is working here, a Kenyan is working here inside Kenya, no good payments. Why are you paying this Asian guy working the same thing you are working, higher money than you are paying me? So we lack support within our own space. Black people, supporting black people, it's tricky, very tricky. I don't know why that always happens, but for example, here in Africa, it's tricky. Tell me, if you're watching me as a black American, do you support each other? Like, leave alone that big support, but just small support, having these groups, helping each other, like Asian America, they help each other open businesses. Asian America, they have strong support networks. They can call you for job opportunities. But most of black people, they don't do that. When I talk about who don't do that, I have an example of African people. When I talk about African people, I have an example of Kenyan people. When I'm talking about blacks in Kenya, I have an example of blacks of my family members. It's very hard for a black family member here in Africa to support. and that's the culture that we need to do away with it as black people. If we need to thrive, if we need to move forward, if we need to create a generational wealth for your children, and the families of Asian are tied together. Unlike this of black community, like black community, everyone on its own. You are on your own, on your own. As a father, when his child was born, he already cut ties with him. It's tricky to have a generational wealth. It's tricky to live a good life, because even if a small family cannot come together and unite, small family, father, mother, children, okay, Leave alone that. We will say maybe love has ended. If an extended family only from one side cannot unite, what about huge of black community? So we have a long way to go in terms of unity. Believe me, even if you don't agree, but believe me, in terms of unity, black people, we have a long way to go. Right now, there's some black Americans in my inbox throwing words to me saying that you should not speak about black people. Deal with your own words. We are all black. We are all black. And when I talk things about black people that are affecting us, black Americans, don't say that I should not talk about that, okay? Now, some Asian communities like Chinese and Indians and Koreans Americans have a higher rate of small business ownership. Now, immigrants often start business out of necessity, or as a way to gain economic independence, and over time, successful businesses can contribute to greater community wealth. And this is because they are supporting each other. Indians supporting Indian business, Chinese supporting Chinese business, but we have had questions surrounding black people. Why are we not supporting black businesses? Okay? So we need this. That's where these Asian people are beating us 10-0. We are being flogged 10-0 because of that. Okay? Now, answering the questions that were asked, apart from Ami Chen answering it, I think I've mentioned some few things and what we need to do. And because I'm not in America, I've given an example of black people in Africa. Some of them, they don't support each other. Some of them, they don't. Even family members, we don't have that ties. And it's hard for you to thrive if you have a discomfort family. It's hard for you to thrive if you have complicated issues in your family. So you have battles within your own community or family, battles within community. How will you surpass the white people? It's so hard. It's so hard to surpass them if we don't unite. Okay? Now, it's important to note that the factors that I've mentioned might apply to some Asian groups, but they don't apply universally to all Asian Americans or Asian community. These, what I've said, are just considerate difference between groups within the broader Asian community or category, including refugee, migrants, undocumented immigrants, and lower income groups. All may face significant barriers of success. And this lady said that there's some low income groups and higher income groups. Higher income groups are those who came with already, like doctor, having something to offer, okay? But low income groups, they are the one who came maybe as refugees and etc., etc. I believe we as black people, maybe we are learning something from Asian community, if truly it is. But talking from the perspective of an African, let me say this. We as black people, we always fail terribly here in Africa. Africans, we fail terrible because we usually don't support each other. That's from my perspective as an black from Africa. I'm looking forward to have comments from black from Americans so that I know what they think about this. Is it true that Asian community are thriving in the midst of the system and everything, and a black community are trailing? I don't know if that is true. So the words I've just said here is from the perspective of black Americans thinking of what they think. Well, some of them, not all of them, okay? So tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. And this video is courtesy of Ami Chen. This lady, she's good. I love her. What she does, according to race, topics, and etc. Until next episode, peace out.